full bio, and it's like, that's all good. I don't need any of that. I mean,
I'm gonna call the podcast, I'm pretty sure, Chatting with Caveman.
Cool.
Which leaves it pretty explanatory, I think. Are we live?
Yeah, I mean, you can go. We're all set up. Good to go.
All right, episode, 3 or 1, depending on how we count. Our first guest, the other Joel, is here today.
Thanks for having me.
We're here to talk about everything, anything. Brought to you by Masio. How's everyone feeling this morning?
I'm doing great, man. I just didn't stay up late last night.
We're into July. The sun's coming up. It's been a little hazy out there. Did you guys see sunset last night?
I did.
Because where I lived, it was the strangest color.
It's gold.
It was gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it brought 3 people out of my street all down to the bay.
Yeah.
Like within 3 minutes, I walked down. My one neighbor was there with his wife, and then my other neighbor came down, and we're all like, the color drew us out. It was like you had put tinted lenses on and went outside, and I was like, I gotta go investigate.
I always
Yeah.
I saw it. I always describe it as like a filter that you would find on Instagram or something. I'm like,
which one was it?
Sepia out here right now or something.
Or
It's an X-Pro looking outside right now.
It was beautiful. It hit the whole sky.
Sunrise, a little underwhelming today.
A little cloudy, a little hazy.
It's just good to be out here.
I saw, I even commented on your last video, or recent video of release.
The time lapse?
Yeah, I wanna do, I mean, obviously any of us can do that on our own, but I wouldn't mind doing you kind of did a guided one in the past, where you told us what to do. But what's going on in that?
That's just, oh man, that's hard to describe, hard to teach.
You're like contorting your body.
Yeah, that's more of like an allowing. I mean, it's like a doing something. So I just kind of let go, and then I just go down to the ground in whatever way I go down to the ground.
Yeah.
And then from there, when the hands go down, then I'm kind of just using gravity and working against it, but you just start feeling into where the tension is, and then it's just something that just kind of unravels. You're feeling everything. So then the neck goes, back goes, whatever it is that goes, but that was really subtle and slow.
Yeah.
And that's just because I'm not trying to do anything. So then everything just kind of unravels along with the mind, and I'm also going through stuff psychologically at the same time. I'm going through probably a little bit more subconscious material, just kind of slowly eases up. So
Okay.
there's no expectations. There's no method about it. So you're just letting go and going to the ground, and then whatever happens happens.
How
That's
fast
why
do
it's
you go to
so
the ground?
slow. I go down slow just to see which way. I'm
You go to your
being
knees?
pulled. Yeah, typically. Always end up somewhere on all fours or down on my, just down whatever. Either way, the hands are usually down.
I think the word unwinding or unraveling, I think, might be the best word
It is the best
to
word.
describe it to someone that has no idea what we're talking about. But because I picture it, well, with the myofascial or whatever, like that like wet spaghetti in our body, and it gets all jumbled up,
really
or like
good.
a spider web if you were to like grab it, but it still kind of stays intact. Like that's what's in us, and then you're just kind of like, let the spaghetti fall out, or whatever. Because I learned that from you, and I'll do it before bed.
Yeah.
Just for like 30 seconds or whatever, and I always get like a back to crack. And one of these days, I want to get like good audio because there's so much popping
Going on.
and it sounds so good and feels so good. But I think most people would be hesitant to want to do that because they would think, okay, it's making noise, maybe this is bad, because everything's kind of like opening and releasing.
If they're familiar with chiropractic adjustments, it's like a good thing.
Yeah,
I think hopefully.
If they're familiar with that, for
I
sure.
mean, your body's doing that, and it's so accurate. It's as accurate as it can get.
What's the state of mind when you start that? Is it like, okay, it's the start of the day, let's do this, or something comes up and you're like, this is a way to release?
That particular video, I'll usually do it at the end. The day when I wake up, yes, I get my stretches in, I get my engagements in, kind of like a dog waking up. They always do some sort of stretch, just engage everything, like a cat does. Or like all animals really do if they're coming out of any sort of stagnant position.
We are animals.
Indeed, we are. Filthy. But the morning and stuff, I would say that I do that slow. That's a really kind of deep form of self-expression of me being fucking exhausted. Just exhausted. That's why it came out so, which is good, because then it all comes out slow. It's all easy. It's not a big, big thing, a big event. It's not very aggressive, but it's unbelievably accurate and really better for me that way. At that time, I had like 4 or 5 miles worth of paddling that morning, and then I pushed and pulled on 5 bodies in a row for 7 hours, and then it was just down I go, and then I just pull out of it gently, work my way out of it, because I don't know how I'm going to end up pushing on someone. It's for their needs, not mine, so I'm going to try to balance it with myself, and then with my feet on the ground, and then pushing on them, but usually it's a little bit of a sacrifice of me, so I can kind of unravel that too.
For the sake of him and anyone else who might ever listen to this, just describe really quick what it is you do as an MFR specialist, what that means, and what this pushing and pulling is referencing.
Yeah, so
when you see a client.
Yeah, we just throw it into the realm of body work, which is just massage, taking heavily into account that you're working on like the subconscious mind of the person. So you're taking into account that you're working on a whole human being. So that changes the way you touch, and then with fascia and where fascia science is at, you're not really working with muscles, you're working with a full body system. So everywhere you touch is affecting the whole body. So you work with all that in mind, and that just changes the way you touch. And then outside of that, it's really just it's an expression of myself each time I push down. And it's patient. It's a lot of sticking onto the skin, staying there, placing drag on it, a lot of direct pressure and holding it for a long time, giving the person opportunities, but also time for the tissue to let go, so they can actually let it go themselves.
Do you get with the client beforehand and they kind of let you know where they're hurting at the most, or do you just kind of go in there and you kind of feel around and you can tell?
I don't have much of an intake process. Come in, and a lot of it, it's so
intuitive, right?
Yeah, it's intuitive, and I don't have treatment plans anymore. Kind of did away with that. Just
what
come
about
in,
payment
see where
plans?
you're at. Payment plans, most certainly.
You won't afford this in one visit, I'm sure.
I try to give people as much information as I can in the first session, and give them a boost in the right direction.
But you've certainly had instances where the client didn't realize what was going to be brought out of them, all right?
Yeah, it's
like
a little bit of a surprise. Yeah,
demons.
If it gets crazy for them emotionally, it's because they feel safe enough with me to let that out. It's nothing I really bring out in them, it's just they feel safe enough, they feel secure enough to do that. And that happens sometimes quick with people. It happens a lot with people on vacation, because they don't know me, they don't have a local reputation. I don't care if I talk shit about them later.
Right.
They don't care what I see. They don't care what I think as much.
Right.
The people who live here, it takes a little bit to build up that trust before they feel safe enough to let it go. Because if I'm challenging an area that's, say it's a lot of emotional holding going on, or so it seems, it could, they're not necessarily, they don't have to let it go. It's not going to force it out of them. They're going to be holding on to it.
Right.
And they may not even be aware that it's there, but if I stay with the tension as opposed to just rubbing over it and going somewhere else because it won't let go, it starts to kind of come up to a conscious level, and then you can feel it. But it doesn't always have to be such an emotionally psycho-spiritual event. Sometimes releases are a little bit easier as long as you're just slow and patient about it.
I'm like, my mind's like strapped to the idea of like massage or chiropractor or something like that. So
not as fast, not as much thrusting, definitely not as much stroking over the skin. There's not a lot of that.
Potentially more uncomfortable, like towards
more like deep tissue
painful side.
Yeah, I go deeper. I affect very deeply.
Yeah.
By sticking
all
on
the way to the
pulling,
heart.
it goes all the way down. Yeah, it goes down deep. Although I do drop some, hard elbows,
The people's elbow?
Yeah.
Just talking about that now, I can kind of feel like the spots in my body that I would be like, you would spend time on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we all have them.
Like my neck, like lower neck, my back right here. I bet. I just like feel it.
He does landscaping.
Oh yeah, it's just some backbreaking work, man.
just that off your shoulder.
Yeah, that is tough work, man. I did a lot of that too. Is it mowing, or is it you doing a lot more mowing, or straight
So
up labor?
personally, like we've built the business to where like I don't really work that much anymore.
Good.
You know, but yeah, for many years, for like at least 10 years, mowing, irrigation, sod, dirt. You know, like just things where you should probably use better form while you're doing. You know, so I started learning how to use a shovel correctly. You know what I'm saying? Like you kind of like grip down on it, not way up top. You know, and then try to use more of your legs, but like.
Was it all back for years?
Oh man.
Yeah. Until you felt it.
Pine straw, dude. Go ahead and lay like 100 bales of pine straw. It's like you're dead.
Yeah.
I can see why people want to go home and drink beer.
Yeah, it really starts
You know?
numbing it right away, and it feels good. I get it. Yeah, that's one of those jobs
has a lot
outside.
more to do with the body and the mind, though, too. If you have a lot going on up there, it's a good way to open it down. It's not good.
No.
Don't do
Not
that.
good. You know, but yeah, it's really effective at that too. I noticed that. And I try never to. There'll be opportunities where I want to just drink some tequila or something, but I'm like, I'm not ready. I don't feel, you know, it's much more effective if you got your shit in order. You know,
Right.
psychologically especially, you know,
it's like-
to throw it on top of that is good, and you get a good release, and it's actually really helpful. But to bury some stuff, man, yeah, it becomes really problematic. Shoving under the surface and stuff. Right. And so you're not having to do a lot of that now.
No.
So now what is it? Film editing.
It's film editing. Yep.
Is it desk work and
But
stuff?
still, like, yeah, I'll sit there for like 4 hours and not blink an eye. You know, I'm like, I wonder how I'm sitting. You know.
You should get up every half hour, probably.
Just change your position up a little bit. That's it, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Switch over to this way.
I notice I'm like starting to try to like, okay, I remind myself I need to sit up more straight when I'm doing editing and stuff like that. But like it's weird because like for so long my like work position has been like hunchback, right? And so like in order for me to feel like I'm working on the computer, I need to sit in like a bad posture because that's my work posture.
Like down and
hunched
you're focused
over.
better that way.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
like,
I
okay,
can
so
relate
we
to
are.
that. Yeah,
You know.
Yeah.
Well, so my girlfriend would be like, dude, you need to get out of that position because like I got like one leg on a bar stool and I'm like this, you know. She's like, what the fuck is that?
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Does it feel comfortable, or was it? Are you just trying to get into a position that helps you focus better?
That's it.
Yeah. So then you'll have to play with new positions probably outside of it. So then other positions are more comfortable.
Get out of missionary. Go to doggy.
Yeah. Something different, man. A little conversation.
He said
around.
tried new
Good for you.
positions.
I'm on my knees, one ass up in the air. Like,
Hard to see the screen with that one.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah.
so do you have to have like some sort of certificate or a degree or something to do?
A license to touch.
Okay.
So massage is what I work on. The LMT.
I like that.
Therapist.
License to touch.
Yeah, because there's a few professions that are chiropractors.
License to thrill. License to kill. License. Don't worry, baby. I got license to touch. Oh, okay.
Yeah, dude, I never thought it sounded that cool until now, man.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Pull it out the
PTs
bar.
have it, chiropractors have it, MDs have it, but they're not MDs. And then massage therapists, occupational therapists are also have license to touch. And speech and language pathologists also have it. They can stick their fingers up in your mouth and everything. I do interoral work.
I remember you had it.
Did I get up in your mouth?
Applying pressure to the gum behind like the last molar or whatever for like 5 minutes for one of the release points.
Oh, I had you do it to yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't finger fuck your mouth.
No.
Okay.
You told me how to
Someday,
fuck
though.
myself.
Someday.
Finger fuck a man, you fuck him for the day. Teach him how to finger fuck himself. He goes away happy.
Lifetime. Yeah, that's a good one, man. That or pterygoid or whatever, muscle you're after. Just go after something painful in your mouth and hold it there, and your jaw will let go.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to work.
Drooling on myself.
Yes.
Your license to touch is under which specific?
LMT, licensed massage therapy.
Okay, but then the myofascial stuff, like, bring us all in a little. How many people are in that subgroup?
Oh,
what's that underworld like? Do you want to speak of the underbelly that is?
yes.
That is.
I'd like the myofascial release therapist.
Yeah.
Myofascial release is a term that's been thrown around for a long time, and it's kind of everywhere, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. People using tools to do it. And there's myofascial release when you roll around on balls. People call it that too. It's pretty washed over now, but there's a group of people that will refer to themselves as myofascial release therapists. It's either a name they give themselves to stand out from just being a massage therapist. It's different.
Yeah.
You don't want people, like I did that too, pulled massage out of all of my advertising and descriptions and stuff just so people don't expect the massage.
Right.
So they already know they're getting something different.
Yeah.
But they also know it's hands-on and kind of like it. Yeah. The so-called father of myofascial release is John Barnes. He started that somewhere late 70s, 80s. And it was already a term, but I mean, he owns myofascialrelease.com, and his therapist, and I trained heavily with him, they would refer to themselves. Some of them do. A lot of them are physical therapists, and so they're just physical therapists.
Right.
But a lot of them like to define themselves as myofascial release therapists, and the true followers call themselves John Barnes, myofascial release therapist.
The Ohio State, the John Barnes University.
So were they trained under that guy?
Yeah, he trained.
Yeah.
And his approach is really, really good to it. It's about as natural of an approach for hands-on work as you can get. It's beautiful, beautiful work. I trained with him like solidly for 18 months. So that was interesting.
So is that a long time? Is that a long time? I mean, it seems like a long time, but like with people who like a black belt in that guy or something, you know, like you train with him for like years.
What color is your belt, sir?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm beltless. I don't even wear a belt.
Yeah, no belt. I mean, there's a ranking system for sure.
Is there?
Like, it's over a certain amount of classes. I don't think where I bailed out, because I bailed out, I had to bail out. It got weird.
Does it get culty in there?
Oh, big time. Yeah. Yeah, and I bailed out probably somewhere around, I don't know, you have to have a certain amount of classes and you have to have a certain amount repeated. So, I mean, I was somewhere in the middle, I'd imagine, somewhere. But, I mean, it goes off of the classes you've taken as opposed to just natural ability. Yeah, it's a ranking system. It's sort of a ladder to climb there. Weird little ladder. I mean, if you want to...
I'm looking for the stairs.
Yeah, I was looking for, a snowmobile to get to the top of the mountain, dude, and I found it. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't... it's really complex work. I was trying to figure out what he's doing, because it's such a heavy-duty approach. It's such a heavy-duty work, and everything about it is really, really captivating and intriguing. So shortly after I trained, I ate some mushrooms down the woods in South Florida with my wife, and we were probably somewhere around 3 apiece. But these were a friend of mine from the Northwest sent them down for old time's sake.
All right.
And so they were a good, really potent species, wood species, not a cowfield species. And they were really, really visual and wild. But I would say about 10 to 15 minutes into that trip, I had a really good understanding of everything. But that made me sort of dangerous after that to him and everybody else, and it got weird. It got weird, and I wrote a book about it. That's
really,
Wait, did that come out?
Yeah, Radical Unwinding.
I haven't got my copy.
Get your copy, man. It's free.
Yeah,
It's free to everybody.
that was the big selling point of getting a copy.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. RadicalUnwinding.com. Get your copy today.
Did you? Where can we find that?
Radical Unwinding?
RadicalUnwinding.com.
Did you ever get it printed, or is it all electronic?
I don't think I'll ever print it. Yeah, it's electronic because it's really written in the language of, the John Barnes therapist and his cult. It's written in the language and the kind of words you use, and it was kind of for them anyway, because they kind of did a little bit of a really, really shitty smear campaign against me. But it was really horribly executed, but a lot of people bought it. I was like, oh man, they can say whatever they want, and these people will all believe it. As far as what happened between me and John and his crew, because I had some shit to say to him at the end. Ultimately, I couldn't keep hanging around, and I was like, I can't keep doing this with you guys.
Yeah,
it's fucking out of line in so many ways. Like God, so I made it available to them, and then they can get it anonymously. You just plug in an email, and then an autoresponder sends it up.
All right.
So I mean, but it's not. I mean, it's like a 2.5-hour, 3-hour read. I wouldn't say I rushed it. I rushed the first chapter as far as going into my history, because it's a story about me, and it's a personal journey of healing and growth, and all in the midst of kind of It's a story of, dude, it's like a really old story. It's like a Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader kind of story.
Dude, that is what's been in my
father
mind
and son, mentor
for a
and
while.
master and student, and like the conflicts there, and narcissism, and anyone who's ever been under the authority of a narcissist. It's wild.
Yeah.
So it's a story about all those things kind of wrapped into one, just involving my own personal experience with things. So yeah, it was wild. Really grateful it all went down though.
Yeah, I mean,
Learned a lot from it. Took a lot from it. It was hard though.
better and stronger now. Yeah.
You think he's big enough that there'll be a Netflix documentary about him one day?
No, he's not. No, he's too small, and he has to stay too small, and he's too out of date now. And he was so ahead of his time for 30, 40 years, you know, or 30 years especially. He was way ahead of his time, and then it's just like, nah, dude. That's some old school.
Nah, brah.
That's some old school guru shit. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Did you have to sleep in a compound and stuff?
No, you visit and you visit and train in seminars and you go back home to your practice. There's online groups, a Facebook group that keeps the cult mind active, that keeps you connected into it, so you can be anywhere and connected to the cult. Those old, cult. I'm using cult in the term, like a derogatory term, like a bad one. It's not that bad, but the sexual abuse isn't that bad.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is it that
Define
bad?
the breaking point of
it's
bad.
horrible for everyone who got kind of worked over by him. But the thing is he's able to make it so consensual.
Yeah.
Not only that, but he can put his there's internal work for the women. He has a physical therapist in Arizona. You can go inside of women and work the pelvic floor from the inside. And yeah, they all go in there, dude. I went up there. I got some fingers in my ass, dude. Like. It was humbling indeed. It was good though, man. It's an absolute, legitimate approach. I didn't have much tension in there to deal with, but I could see how a lot of people would carry a lot in the rectal area. You can get to the back of the piriformis and all the muscles in the glutes. It gets stuck. You get to them right through there, and you melt a lot easier from the inside.
Like butter.
Yeah, but he would take that and get it, take that legitimacy and have him sign a waiver and everything. So you can't really get him on much other than the psychological manipulation that went into it. There's some stuff online, some court cases you can read about on that, but he always wins them. And, I don't know. It's weird. He's not that demented. He's just, he's got a stage persona that is kind of like the ideal version of him, which is what you'd want to throw up on a stage anyway. And that was probably mostly him at some point, but then it just started to split off to where he became this really heavy-duty dude, great to listen to, hilarious, awesome person to be around. But off behind the scenes, first I recognized like who he's got working for him, who was closest to him, and then I met these people and I instantly lost respect for John. Like, okay, you keep this weak-minded people around you, like what I can't do. Some he keeps as instructors, and they're all really awesome, but they stay at a distance, and he needs them to represent him well. But the ones he can take advantage of, he does, and he pulls them in close, and that's not a good leadership move, because they never question you, which means that allows you to become totally tyrannical.
Yeah.
And no one ever calls you out on your bullshit in your circle, because they're too afraid of you. It's exactly how you like it,
Yes,
you do whatever the fuck you want. So yeah, it's pretty bad. But I don't know, man, he's like 80 something. Why is he coming at me? Like, why do you care? God, dude.
He's still feeding his ego.
Yeah, it's bad at this point, but at the same time, it's pathological to a point where he won't be able to see. He can't see what he's doing. He can't. Everything. And this goes for any narcissist or sociopath. It's like he can't see his fault in anything anymore. Everything happens to him. He's a victim of everything.
Do you think? Do you think for him, or and we're gonna kind of like go beyond our bounds?
Yeah.
Do you think he enters with that intent, or it's like this gradual process? Like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, is it inherent in that person's nature that if they can get those around them to follow them, that they would want to take advantage, or as the power grows, you're like, oh, I like this. Like, maybe I'll keep going this way, right?
Yeah, I think there's probably some of that. I don't know. It's such a good question.
Versus I'm doing this, people like it, I get a little more power, a little more ego boost. Ooh, I want to keep building from that.
Yeah,
you know?
I think so. I think it appealed to, I think the admiration that the women had for him and looked at him with, loved that.
Yeah.
You know, he loved the way women were looking at him with the googly eyes and so much admiration. And then he was probably feeling a little bit of pressure in the beginning to become what they all needed him to become. Because they weren't seeing, a lot of the time, they weren't seeing John for John or a physical therapist or a teacher for a teacher.
Right.
They were idealizing him, you know. He was like this, you know,
so
ultimate to them. And I was I would do that to him at times.
Maybe we can conjecture now for the sake of, because you, the audience, if anyone ends up listening to this, they probably don't know nor really give a shit about who JB is, right?
Yeah, it doesn't.
But he brings context to the story. So the question now for us is, how do we prevent ourselves? Because like I aspire to be a leader, right?
Yeah.
How do we keep ourselves from falling into that folly? I mean, I probably have my own thoughts on it, but maybe what's your take on
humility?
How to keep your ego at bay, right? And how do you humble yourself?
I take, you know, usually a position. It's a prayer position. It's kind of like humbling yourself before God kind of thing. But you don't necessarily have to believe in all that to be a humble person. You need to be, you know, humble in all sorts of ways and from all sorts of things. Sometimes it's a good ass whooping, you know. Sometimes it's a good psychological ass whooping that does it. But how do you achieve humility? I don't know. I've blown mine out of the water with psychedelics to realize, damn, dude, I don't know anything. I'm not shit.
Right.
You know. So I mean that helps. But you can actually like achieve it physically. Because I'm all about using the body as kind of a gateway in, as opposed to trying to think my way into things. But if you get down like heavy duty on your knees, forehead down to the ground, you know,
yeah,
like a submissive position, extremely submissive, and you sit there long enough, you start going through things psychologically just from being in that position, and it really brings up things maybe you need to work on. And you know, or either that, or you can just do a bunch of things that make you feel strong and powerful all the time. You know, you can strengthen your body and be strengthening your ego at the same time too. That seems
in a good way.
Yeah, you know, and also in a bad way. So I mean, that seems to be a thing. Humility, how you go about achieving that, I don't know. It's obviously individual for each person. Dude, the world will humble you if you don't.
You listen.
Yeah, you know, at some point you're going to get smacked down, whether it's on your deathbed or somewhere in your life, something's going to come about.
I would prefer
or a death
be
of a loved one.
way earlier in life, so that then people led better lives, right?
Yeah, that's what psychedelics are good for, I would think, for younger people, younger generation, and older too. But to get yourself out of the way of yourself would be helpful. But man, like psychedelics, like you can be in an egocentric phase where your ego's kind of dominant, and then you go into a psychedelic experience and you have like a godlike experience where you don't feel much separation between you and the divine. You feel completely unlimited and powerful, and you can conclude that you are God and there's nothing really, you are one with Him, so really you don't have to answer to Him, because you're really just answering to yourself. And then you can spin it and conclude it that way, and then
that's an interesting spin.
But it happens, dude. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's actually happened to me a couple times in psychedelic trips, but I didn't run with it. I didn't act it out, you know, because I believe there was something bigger than me still. That was the only thing that kept me from being like. But I still was running with that a little bit, you know. But I think when you don't believe you have to answer to anybody, then you do it how you want. You don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to own up to anything except for yourself. Right, because you are God, right? You are it. That's the narcissistic viewpoint. It's a God-like stance. They take the role, because God, you know, typically is the father of God. I mean, that's the ultimate narcissist. His way, only, right?
Well, I mean, that's only the power that you might give him, though. You know,
exactly, or a credit to him,
right?
You know, so I mean, that's ultimately the narcissistic move. So how to not become it is like the best question ever. It's not a matter of, you know, how they get that way or how people get that way. It's how do you not do that as you become a more powerful person.
It would be tough too, because you're kind of pushed by like almost like a wave. It would feel like if you're doing something that people like or something.
Yeah.
You kind of just feel like you're getting inflated a little bit, and then you kind of want to give them what they want. So somehow staying your true self, when you and the process is so maybe empathy too. You know, trying to see yourself in other people.
Yep.
Because that'll bring you back down.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's what, I mean, to sum up Trog, which is kind of like the word that embodies
Yes. Yeah, I like that.
my whole mission. And it's funny because the word, did I tell you how where Trog came from?
I don't think so.
Okay, so Simon and
I
I
just joined in, you know.
came up with the word because my brain's Caveman covered, and we had watched this movie called Bone Tomahawk, which is a really good movie. It's kind of weird. It's a new western, neo-western. And in the film, there's like the classic cowboy kind of people, but then there's these cave people, and they're troglodytes, which is a technical word for like a cave-dwelling person or whatever. Anyway, there's a scene in there that's like super gruesome, but we liked the word troglodyte, but it seemed kind of lengthy, so we just shortened it to trog as a replacement for caveman, right?
Yeah.
Well, then the word started to like take on a real meaning, and I've explained this in one of my personal Facebook videos, but to pursue trog was like, first it was, okay, you work out and like, let's say you do a max rep where you just feel like this endorphin rush from physical exertion, like you're getting closer to trog, and then it's like, it's helping other people, and then it becomes the realization of like becoming your better self. Like that's what trog is.
Yeah.
And then I realized trog is my word for like what enlightenment is to that camp, what nirvana is to that camp. And then it became so perfect that trog is the acronym. It's the true reality of God.
Yeah.
Like that is what we are all pursuing is our trog. Because when it comes down to it, we're all trying to do the same thing. And that is explain the invisible, right? Like we can all talk about our five senses and what we're trying to do and how that's different. Like I'm into surfing and I'm into whatever, knitting, right? Those are the five senses, but the six faculties, your will and creativity and imagination, at the end of the day, no one has an answer that we can overlay with our five senses. Like there's no proof of God at the end of the day, right? So that means we're all trying to give our best explanation of what is out there, what's in the invisible. And so for me, trog is that embodiment of being one with the goddamn universe.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
What is beyond language?
Yeah. And what we cannot see is far greater than what we can see. And most people don't realize that because they're too busy, they're too caught up in the five senses, which is so finite, you know. If anyone believes that there's a spirit or a soul, then this, and you know, our meat suit is so temporary in the grand scheme of things. So I guess the other question is, how do we find our humility, and how do we help get other people to wake themselves up? Because it has to be on their own volition, right? And it's usually one of two things. It's always something big. It's usually something really bad, and occasionally it's something really good that wakes someone up. Wayne Dyer's got a movie called The Shift. I don't know if you know. I think I've seen it.
Yeah, I think
really good. Recommend everyone to go watch it. And The Shift is referring to that moment in anyone's life when the real door opens, and that could be through psychedelics.
Yeah.
Although I think
relationship issues and stuff. He was kind of showing how life will do that to you.
Yeah. Because there's three people and they're all going through something else. And Wayne Dyer's a prolific writer and like motivational speaker and all that kind of stuff. So he's a good reference when going down this path. But yeah, how do we help people get to that level of humility or empathy, and not be just feeding our own ego to do it?
Dude, we got to go around fucking humbling people, man.
Stay humble. I mean,
we got to humble everybody else.
Yeah. As Kendrick would say, sit down, be humble.
Yeah. We got to get it, man. That's the mission. I don't know. I concluded with that kind of rabbit hole, which it is one if you really get into it, was you have to submit to something bigger than you, whether that's the ideal you, whether that's the higher self or God, or however. It's got to be something you have to like submit to something. There's got to be some sort of submission in there, and not to another human being, man, not to another thing. But that's how you achieve it in martial arts, through a master, and being submissive to a master to a point, But I don't know. I feel like you should submit to yourself. But I mean, are you really the master of yourself?
It's hard
you get
to
yourself
find
to do the things you know you need to do. Can you? who's really running the show all the time, you know? It's tough.
Interesting you say that.
Mine a lot of times.
Rick had me just listen to, and I'm familiar with his name, but hadn't listened to his lectures, to Sam Harris.
Yeah.
And
hardcore intellectual man.
yes, and he's all about, and he would need to flesh it out even more, because I listened to this lecture and there's like so many questions, but basically that we don't have free will, that we do only what we can do, and whatever we end up doing, you were gonna do anyway.
Yep.
He has this example of how, about picking movies and how you can only pick something that you already knew, so you were gonna pick it anyway, and it left me a little depressed, because it's like there is no free will, and it's like it's really hard to reconcile that notion. And the big question I would have for him is, if we're all pretty much just operating the program that we have, who chose or what chose that program, and does that mean there's any free will behind that? I mean, he's a hardcore atheist. Let's start there to explain his understanding. And I haven't gotten to listen to it, but he and Jordan Peterson had an event where they had like a debate, I think more than once. This was in London, and it was like 8,000 people showed up. I'm really hoping that was caught on.
The Vancouver one,
caught on tape.
I know Jordan Peterson will be throwing up on his podcast. When they did it in Vancouver was the latest. They did too. They tried to do it again and again.
Okay.
And yeah, Jordan Peterson will take.
Do you know who Jordan Peterson
So
is?
I've heard of him because I do the podcast too.
Yeah.
So I've heard of him, but I don't know exactly.
He's a clinical psychologist, professor out of University of Toronto. Taught in the U.S. at Harvard for 5 years. He's hardcore intellectual too, but he's more on the side of kind of defending religious ideals, or maybe even Christian apologetics. And then, I don't want to do that, but it seems like he's practicing that.
Yeah.
Or it seems like he took a lot from the Christian apologetics, but then Sam Harris is on the other side of that. So they're kind of debate like the most intense questions, you know, and it's tough watching their debates. I kind of have to like dictionary my way through that, you know, every now and again, but like they're good to listen to.
We'll have both those guests on in the upcoming episodes.
Oh, they'll be running, man. Yeah. But no, those are good minds to pay attention to, man. Yeah. Like really good minds to pay attention to right now. Jordan Peterson will be one of the. Sam Harris is going to be known as one of the greater intellectuals of our time. Yeah.
I've been listening to Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, and this guy named Grayton. They've all been on the London Reel, which is a podcast I really enjoy, and they're kind of in the same circle of things, just trying to get as many like takes and understanding of this. It's all the same thing that we all end up talking about, right? It comes back to the pretty much explanation of the invisible. But it's great that we're on that path of personal discovery and in the hopes of leading other people. Because I mean, what's the goal? The goal is the enlightenment or the nirvana, but the goal is to improve your experience here and have a greater or better understanding of what the whole experience is. I mean, that's what my goal is. In a way that isn't necessarily only self-serving, or serving in the context of like material things. Like that's the goal for me. Like if I can softly like wake up, do you understand what's happening? You know?
You gotta toughen in my booty here.
Right. Yeah, swimmers here.
In fiction.
And if they're not ready, that's fine. Like it can't be through force. It has to be, you know, I guess like what Jesus was trying to do. We are his disciples. Just don't nail me to a fucking cross.
Yeah, we all have a cross to bear. Whether or not we're gonna get nailed to it.
Tony, that's a long road. It never ends.
Yeah, what was that road? Literally, what was that road called?
Damascus.
Yeah.
Well, that was where Paul got.
Well, okay, what was
jacked up?
Yeah. Paul did some amphetamines and found
something
Christ.
bad happened to him, man. He was on his way to kill everybody.
Golgotha was where he got nailed. Anyway, neither here nor there. What else should we talk about? What time is it?
I think you just breezed through that subject that you just touched on.
Yeah.
There's a lot to go into on that.
Yeah, no doubt. Which one?
Dude.
What were we?
I would say that.
Let's dive deeper.
Let's go.
Through the personal discovery of your time here on this earth.
I got to do a little like movement. I've been down there too much.
Hey, I want to see some of that on the knees thing that you're talking about. I know what you like to do.
It's a little shitty in the sand because you get all sandy. I do a lot of mine just standing. Yeah, just. I'm always picturing you when I do it. Not in a bad way, but like in a bad way.
How would Joel do it? Like, what am I wearing?
How?
Am I just nude?
And I find myself wondering, what color are our panties? I mean, they're probably basic white, but maybe something I've never seen before.
Basic white cotton. Maybe something I don't even know about.
I'm sorry, boys. I thought we were in the trust tree.
We're in the nest, right? Yeah, that's good. I got my grandpa. I had to go do that with my grandpa and get some information out of him, and then luckily my aunt went and got his full history, got it all written down and everything. He just wrote it down, so it's actually like
as he was orating it, his history?
Yeah, like he was talking about it, and like so much stuff we had no idea about. But we finally got it all down, and then same as being done for my grandma and so much good about that. And my dad's done really good at piecing it all together.
You know, it wasn't that long ago where it was normal tradition to give history orally. Like that's how everyone did it, and now we've kind of hit this gap of like, well, I don't know, probably be captured on my Instagram or something, but I not to segue too strangely, but I want to start giving back, right? Like volunteering, etc.
Yes.
But I want to go hang out with the old people at the nursing homes. I want to like start just getting there, and a lot of it's probably going to be not fun because they don't want to be there. But I imagine finding some diamonds in the rough and just like taking in their story, sitting down and being with another person and learning about it, what life was like back then. Because the cliche is true, you know, like kids don't appreciate life. So I always think about at my age, what was my grandpa doing? Okay, he was just finishing his enlistment in the service. War was going on, like it was a completely different mindset. And it's not because I think that kids can't appreciate it, it's just like the practice of gratitude. Yeah. If you become aware, I think everyone just becomes a softer, nicer soul, right? Yeah. So I want to go download into myself like the stories of these old people, see what they got to say. Yeah. You know? And I'm serving myself as much as them because they're like, hey, maybe someone wants to listen to me or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. Haven't done it yet.
Yeah. There's like a good plan from my boy Gary Vaynerchuk, just because he's like so knowledgeable. Right?
Yeah.
You know who this guy is? Wait, who? Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes, he's big online.
So he always says go hang out at a nursing home.
Does he?
Yeah, go hang out at a nursing home, talk to people, because he doesn't want you to live when it comes time for you to be old as shit. Regret.
Yeah.
Will come. You know, so he doesn't want anybody to regret anything in their lives. So go hang out with people in nursing homes, and all they have to talk about is a lot of regret. About
hospice would probably be ideal if you could get into a hospice. Because those people are right on the brink of that.
Yeah. That would probably be some interesting shit.
So that's just like, it really just makes me want...
Episode 2.
You know, it's like, man, limited time here on this earth.
So limited.
Let's fucking do something that makes it happen.
I love reading about things that try to put into perspective, like, who we are as a species and how fortunate and lucky we are. I'm reading...
We're special, man, in some way.
E.O. Wilson, one of his most recent books. So E.O. Wilson was the Biophilia Center is named after him. He's about in his 90s, he's definitely in his 80s. He's like one of the foremost biologists of our time. He's got studied ants for like 40 or 50 years. Very revered by everyone in the community. And his recent book is The Meaning of Human Existence. It's a short book. He's taken different angles, but he was just pointing some things out. You know, even if you still believe in that God is the ultimate origin of the creation, we're relatively positively certain that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Like science is going to prove all that. And it's like, okay, if it's been around all that time and we're here now with the features that we have that are so recent, how awesome is that? And he was just pointing out, like, we are one of only, I don't know if any of the other species are truly bipedal completely. We might be the only bipedal ones. Yeah. We stand up because everyone has at least 4 extremities, but their other 4 are for movement. Yeah. And we have ours now for action. It's like, God, that's so cool. And then he's talking about how our line of sight is one of the highest. Almost every other creature is below. And it's like the difference between able to dominate the world here And if you're down here,
Yeah,
like,
right.
would we be building and creating what we're doing if we were really this,
Yeah.
like, just this average 5 foot difference?
We wouldn't have been able to move around as efficiently either. So
Yeah.
that bipedal makes us really efficient in long distance.
And it's like, how awesome is that for us to be experiencing this here and now? But our brains are so advanced that one person can create something that improves the lives of an entire Earth, and then suddenly they become removed from, like, how cool that is. You know, just like when we got the power grid, the difference in life with having electricity, or once we got phones. Just think of whenever picture the kids on the phone versus what they'd have to been doing 80 years ago to earn money for a fucking popsicle. Or it's like that fast because our brain is so advanced. It's like, well, hold on, let's take a step back and just be like super grateful of what we are as a species, and coming back full circle to what you were talking about, how finite the experience is. The world's 4.5 billion years old. We're gonna live, even rounded up to 100 years. What does that come out to? Like 1/10 millionth% of the existence. It's like, okay, this is special.
Yep.
Because for us to be aware that we're here for that period of time, to me, says something significant.
Yeah.
So
It's the time that we have YouTube too, right? So it's like, you need to be saying some shit that when somebody finds whatever we're saying right now, they need to be like, dude, those guys knew what was going on.
right, the rest of these guys were fucked.
These
were up to
other guys,
something.
I don't know, but these guys on the beach were like, okay.
Oh, they know what's up.
You know, the aliens be picking through it like, hey, they did all right.
I believe that in the future, might be 1 generation, 2 generation, they're going to view our willingness to give cell phones to kids as equivalent to giving cigarettes to kids. I really believe that it's going to be understood.
There's a lot of things we're going to look back on and be like, ouch.
Yeah. And how did they survive that? Well, they procreated 7 billion of them, so a couple million survived.
Yeah, right. We'll be at 15 million by then, 20 million by then.
Have you
Or
seen,
billion.
you looked at the old cigarette ads? It's like, your doctor's favorite cigarette is a Camel.
Yeah.
Or something that's like,
Well, it
dude,
relaxes the nerve fibers of the lungs.
Yeah.
Because nicotine does
It helps
help
you
you
grow,
focus.
you know.
And do a bunch of other
Nicotine
things.
in and of itself is a phenomenal
It's great, yeah.
substance.
Just gotta not abuse it like everything else.
Yeah.
It's
That's
just
the
so
quick
addictive
thing.
though, man. But you have nicotinamide receptors in your brain.
Yeah, you got endocannabinoids.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, oh yeah. I
All
mean,
that stuff
honestly,
is
every
good.
psychedelic has some sort of like a keyhole in your brain.
Well, yeah, it's the serotonin receptors.
Yeah.
LSD fits the serotonin receptors. Like
It was,
identically.
I think it was Bruce Limited was talking about, because the podcast host Brian Rose asked him about, because Brian Rose wants to go do a psychedelic trip, so he's asking all these guys, and
He's
I think it was
already done
Lipton
a
that
bunch.
said, well, any substance you take only works because there's already a receptor in your
Yeah.
brain, and it's like, Rose was like, well, that's interesting. It's an interesting way to describe drugs to someone, because everyone thinks of drugs as it's this dangerous exogenous substance that you're taking that's changing,
And
he's
you're
like,
getting a drug experience.
yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
actually, it's just activating something. So if there was no receptor, then you wouldn't have the experience. And it's like, okay, that's
It'd be
interesting.
Tony the Caveman here, extending a big thank you to all of you for your support. If you'd like to follow along, check us out on Facebook and Instagram at The Caveman's Cupboard. And if you'd like to support us, you can do so by purchasing on thecavemanscupboard.com and directly from the farm at arrowheadbeef.com. Cheers.